You sit down to do something important. Maybe it's work, studying, or something you truly care about. You tell yourself, this time I'm going to focus. You open your laptop, get everything ready. For a moment, it feels like you're in control. Then, almost automatically, your hand reaches for your phone. Just for a second, a quick check. One notification, one scroll, one video. And suddenly, 20 minutes are gone. You go back to your task, but now it feels heavier, harder. Your mind keeps drifting. You read the same sentence 3 times and still don't absorb it. You try to push through, but the urge keeps pulling you away. The need to check something becomes louder than the task, and eventually, you give in again. If this feels familiar, you might think the problem is laziness or lack of discipline. Maybe you tell yourself your attention span is broken, that something is wrong with you. But the truth is more specific. Your brain hasn't lost its ability to focus. It's been trained not to. At the center of this is something called dopamine. Dopamine is often misunderstood as the pleasure chemical, but that's not quite accurate. Dopamine is about anticipation. It's about motivation. It's the signal in your brain that says, this is worth paying attention to. It doesn't just reward you for doing something, it drives you to do it in the first place. Thousands of years ago, dopamine helped humans survive. It pushed you to hunt, explore, and solve problems. The effort was high, but so was the reward. And because rewards required work, your brain learned to stay engaged longer. But now, look at your environment. You have instant access to entertainment, information, and stimulation. Social media, short videos, notifications, messages, all designed to give quick bursts of novelty. And every time you engage, your brain releases dopamine. Not because you achieved something meaningful, but because something interesting might happen next. That's the key. Dopamine spikes not when you get the reward, but when you expect it. So when you scroll, your brain keeps anticipating the next post, the next video, the next hit. And because rewards are unpredictable, it keeps you hooked. Sometimes it's interesting, sometimes it's not. But the uncertainty is what keeps you scrolling. This is the same mechanism behind things like slot machines. Variable rewards are powerful. Over time, your brain adapts to this pattern. It gets used to high stimulation, fast changes, constant novelty, and anything that doesn't match that level starts to feel boring. That's why sitting down to read, study, or work feels difficult. It's not that those tasks are impossible. It's that compared to fast stimulation, they feel slow and unrewarding. This is where the real problem begins. The more you rely on quick dopamine hits, the less satisfying meaningful tasks become. And the less you engage with those tasks, the harder they feel when you return. It becomes a cycle you don't even notice forming. You avoid deep work because it feels difficult. And it feels difficult because you've been avoiding it. But there's another layer to this. It's not just external distractions, it's internal resistance. When you start a task that requires focus, your brain doesn't reward you immediately. There's a delay. Effort comes first, reward comes later. And in that gap, your brain looks for an easier alternative, something that gives instant gratification. That's why the urge to check your phone feels so strong. It's not random. It's your brain optimizing for immediate reward. So when you think, I don't have willpower, what's really happening is conditioning. Your brain has been trained to prefer short-term rewards over long-term ones. And the more you give in, the stronger that pattern becomes. Now, here's where most people go wrong. They try to fix this by forcing themselves to focus harder. They rely on motivation, discipline, or guilt. They tell themselves to just try more, but that usually fails because you're working against your brain, not with it. If you want to regain focus, you have to retrain your dopamine system. The first step is reducing constant stimulation. You don't need to eliminate technology completely, but you need space without instant rewards. Set limits on checking your phone. Turn off unnecessary notifications. Allow yourself to sit without stimulation for a while, because boredom is important. It's the reset point your brain needs. When your brain isn't constantly stimulated, it recalibrates. Things that once felt dull start to feel engaging again. But at first, boredom feels uncomfortable. That discomfort means your brain is adjusting. The second step is starting small, with focus. Don't expect hours of deep work immediately. Start with short periods, 10 or 15 minutes. What matters is consistency, not intensity. Each small session builds your ability to focus. The third step is delaying gratification intentionally. When you feel the urge to check something, wait a few minutes. Don't act on it instantly. This trains your brain to tolerate the gap between effort and reward. And over time, that gap becomes easier to handle. Another key step is shaping your environment. If distractions are nearby, you will use them. That's not weakness, it's human nature. So remove what you can. Put your phone away, close extra tabs, simplify your workspace as much as possible. Make focus the easiest option available. There's also a mindset shift you need to make. Stop expecting focus to feel easy at the start. It won't. It often feels uncomfortable and restless. That's part of the process. Your mind will wander. You'll feel the urge to quit. But that doesn't mean it's not working. Focus is not something you wait to feel. It's something you build through repetition. And remember, the goal is not to eliminate dopamine. That's impossible and not even helpful. Dopamine is essential for motivation and enjoyment. The goal is to rebalance it, to shift away from constant low-effort rewards and move toward meaningful, effort-based ones, because when you do that, something changes. Tasks start to feel manageable again. You can stay with something longer. Your mind becomes quieter, less scattered. And instead of chasing distractions, you begin finding satisfaction in the work itself. But this takes time. It won't happen overnight. Just like your brain learned distraction, it can relearn focus. So don't label yourself as lazy or broken. Look at your habits instead. Look at how often your attention is pulled away. Look at how your environment shapes your behavior. Because the issue isn't that you can't focus anymore, it's that your brain adapted to constant distraction, and adaptation works both ways. If you change your inputs, your brain will change too. If you reduce the noise and give it space, your focus will begin to return. Not instantly, not perfectly, but gradually. And when it does, you'll realize something important. Focus was never something you lost. It was something buried under distraction. And once you start removing those layers, even slowly, you begin to uncover it again.